working. Trying this again. Sorry guys, I'm not able to get this to work so far. We're trying really, really hard to get my guest on, but it is not sending her the invite. All right, let me try this again. All right, I'm going to get this to work. Sorry about that to everyone who's watching. I'm trying to figure out how to invite a guest, and it is just simply not working. All right, we're having no luck. Hey, Brett, what's up, bro? Brett's one of my long-term former clients. Yeah, I see that, Antonio. I can't get her to see the messages. All right, she's trying to get on here now. Wait a minute, we might be in luck here.
Finally.
Is it working? Ariel, yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am amazing.
I wonder why it's so quiet.
The what?
My thing is so quiet. Let me see if I can fix that. Hold on.
Thank you, everyone, for your
try to adjust. We might have to retry this in a second. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to close that out and see if I can get my sound up. All right. All right, try talking.
Can you hear me?
Beautiful. All right, let me set this back in the holder. This was quite a bit of a tech issue. So how are you doing, Ariel?
For your patience. Apologies.
All right, all good. So
now
for
we're loud.
Everyone watching, this is my good friend, Ariel Ziegler. We've done some collab work together in the past. We've been friends a long time. And she, of course, is a coach and a high-level athlete herself. And we're going to talk with you guys today about healthy masculinity. We didn't really rehearse this ahead of time. This is kind of impromptu. It was based upon a post that I did the other day, had a lot of engagements. Ariel jumped in, and I know that you love to touch on some of this stuff yourself. on both the male and the female dynamics, and you get a lot of pushback on some of these things, surprisingly, on your own wall. So let's talk about this for a moment, and then we'll let you talk about your work and your website and everything at the end. By the way, I have used her professionally, so I can absolutely vouch for her work as a coach and the work that she does. Like, I can vouch for it firsthand. One of the reasons I have you on here. So let's talk a little bit about this. So where do we want to go with this today?
How do you want to open it? Do you want to open it up from, I mean, I'm also open to opening into the unhealthy dynamic of the recent feminist movement, not the original one, because I feel like they're very much, it's a dance that they play, and they kind of feed off of each other, not in a beneficial way. So however you want to start it. I mean, actually, let's have some of the does any of the followers want to bring anything into the forefront, and we can kind of play a game on that one. I think that'd be fun.
Well, some of them will post in here too. Some of my clients are in here right now, and they have their own viewpoints. I know Brett and Antonio are both in here watching, and they're both, very opinionated on some of this stuff, particularly Antonio.
I love opinions because they're all egoic attachments. So
people feel free to chime in, but I think the way I kind of wanted to go is, let's start off just with the topic that I had brought up. Was talking about, everyone talks about toxic masculinity, but no one wants to talk about the opposite, which is masculinity.
Yes.
Right? What is healthy masculinity? Well, to me, that's, I don't want to say this in a bad way. People hate it when you say traditional, but, traditional male roles, all through history and even prehistory would have been men's roles.
Yep.
Protectors, providers, hunters, warriors, teachers, mentors.
Yep.
So if we look at that is what ancient societies were built upon. This is how men are wired. We are wired to be, when we're healthy. Yep. And the thing is, when we're emotionally and mentally healthy, we are protectors, providers, mentors.
Yep. And we also take care of ourselves as well. Men take care of themselves. They put themselves first, because it's only by the man being fully embodied in who that he's able to then show up as a provider for the woman. However, in society, the way it is these days, the man is not allowed to be that thing. He's not allowed to. He's literally emasculated from the day that we set forth. And then obviously we have the environmental factors that are not contributing to the healthy development of a male, neurochemically, somatically, etc. So, and it's not by chance, in my humble opinion. I mean, conspiracy theorists or not, this has all been planned out for the last 20 to 30 years, and we're kind of reaching ahead at this point. It's we're either going to have the individual rise or fall. We're having this huge, like, it's either here or there. That's it. There's no in between. Either you're an alpha male toxic masculine, or you're a beta male, and then the women are wondering where the real men are, but they're emasculating them by their own actions. So it's absolutely asinine.
Right. Well, I saw that with the guest you had done one with the other day. You sent me that podcast, and he brought that up. He's like, he sees all of these women who are these strong professional women, and they're like, well, where are the real men? And he's like, well, you've turned them all into pussies.
Turn them all into pussies. Exactly. I don't know if you've heard of, I even found out this recently, called the passport bros, where like certain men are literally just like, fuck this, I'm leaving the country and finding a real woman, like an actual woman. And that goes to, women are meant to be feminine. They are meant to be vulnerable. They are meant to what the man can come to and put his head on at the end of the night. He trusts her fully to be able to express himself in an intimate way. And women do for men as well. But they're now called pussies, even the healthy male, for having any degree of vulnerability whatsoever. But then you also, it's so convoluted, and then it's too weak, but I'm going to be the man in my life, but I want a man. So I believe that a man should, personally, my personal opinion, and then obviously my studies within psychology and behavior, up until recent, we didn't have this divide, creating societal basically disintegration at this point, right? It's just it's falling in upon itself, and we're wondering why we're having skyrocketing amount of diagnosis for anxiety, depression, etc. It's because nobody really passport pro, yeah, right there. We're wondering why things are breaking apart. It's because what's supposed to be normalized now should never have been normalized. Exactly. So a man should be a provider. He should be the strong arm that she can go to. He should be physically and mentally strong as well, but he's also open. He communicates his needs openly because he knows that it's not compromising who he is at a deep level to be able to voice what he needs in a relationship. He also doesn't need a woman to be fulfilled. He is a fully, completely sovereign and autonomous individual on his own. He does not have to seek the pussy. He does not have to run after a woman. He does not have to compromise who he is to be able to find the woman that he wants. And I've met a couple of those men, yourself included. They are wonderful individuals to be around, and their entire energy is different. But society is not allowing that man to develop, and then they wonder where that man is.
Yeah, and that's the problem that those women run into. The same women who will say, well, I don't need a man, or I can do this, well, I can be a provider. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, a woman, a career, they should be accomplished, but the man should still be a provider.
Correct. I'm a businesswoman. I have to be the man in certain areas. I have a masculine aspect to my job.
Competitive, and you own your own business,
Correct. And I have to have that hat, right? But it's only a hat. And that's the thing that happens, is that the women don't realize that this is merely a hat.
Right.
At the end of the day, you can still go forth and be vulnerable to your man and actually admit, hey, I need a shoulder to cry on. I need someone to confide in. It's okay that I'm vulnerable. And it actually goes to women having traumatic issues and them not addressing it, so they don't trust themselves in actually opening up to a man. But the irony is they're never going to be able to find a healthy man because they're still licking their wounds from a previous relationship.
Absolutely. Well, and they're not healthy, and they're not ready for that. Mm-hmm. And a couple of points that you brought up there, minor things I could touch on. I dealt with some of that, as far as men being providers, with one of my much younger clients, mm-hmm. struggling with his own masculinity, very, very insecure with it. And I brought something up with that, I'm like, well, no, a man should be paying for a date. I mean, a man should be a provider. He's like, so you're saying women are just gold diggers? I'm like, no, I'm saying that you need to be a provider. And I said, well, look at it this way. Like, here's your balance if you're trying to date. He was 19 years old. Had never had a girlfriend. And I'm like, so when you take a girl out on a date, do you want her to show up looking pretty? He's like, well, yes, of course. I'm like, so she put her money and her energy into getting dressed up, putting on makeup, doing her hair, looking good for you to go on this date. She's already paid for her side of the date. So I'm like, it's your job to then buy dinner and the movie. I'm like, it's like, that is your job in this situation.
Correct.
If you're a man, she's already done her job as a woman, and she's already spent money getting ready to look for you.
And that's the funny thing. And that's the other thing, is like, when we're trying to normalize things and we're trying to make the same of everything, it's not meant to be the same, right? The way that the woman is supposed to show up is by providing that, right? Being the artwork, being the flow, being the passion, being those aspects. And the men are supposed to be in a traditional dynamic, the frame, the structure, the provision, all those different things. And it's not to say that those rules can't be reversed, but you can't have two of the same in a relationship. I mean, that is the very bare basics of nature and how the world operates. And we think that we can go against, that's the funny thing, is society thinks we can go against the laws of nature, and the very nature, it's like, this is so fucked. You can't have two yangs. You can't have two yins. You can't have double cold. You can't have double hot. You have to have hot and cold, yin and yang, yes and no. They can only exist in polar opposite.
Right.
But yeah.
And they have to be in balance.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's like a dance. It is literally a dance.
So, you have that, and then there was something else you brought up, and I forgot what it was that I wanted to touch upon, because it falls back into the same thing. I'm trying to remember what the point was. So, oh gosh, and I forgot what it was. I brought up the point.
There's so many tangents, so you're gonna have to give me a little bit of frame on that.
Yeah.
But if anyone has a question, feel free to.
Yeah, I haven't seen any real questions in here yet. A couple people have posted a few things. Antonio's always going to post a bunch. I know Antonio's got opinions on this.
I love to hear opinions. I love opinions. Great. But
Antonio's one of those guys who's kind of the same thing we're talking about. Like, he is all about just, you know, accomplishing everything. And he runs into the same thing. He's like, I'm not even good looking, I still get girls. Because, you know, he's a businessman. He's always making money. He's a full-time student. He competes in powerlifting. Like, he's just taking care of his business. That's where I want to go. You know, you talked earlier about men out there chasing women, or as you put it, they're chasing pussy. But it's like, if you're taking care of your business, you don't have to do that.
Right.
And that's the first thing I would say to a lot of men out there. If you are being a masculine man and you are taking care of your business, women will come to you. You don't have to go out there pursuing them. Women will hit on you. You know, if they see what you're doing, you're financially stable, you have your act together, and they're like, okay, he is taking care of his business as a man, women are going to hit on you.
Yep. Same thing with the women too.
If they aren't, that's a dead giveaway that you're not taking care of your business.
Exactly.
If you've ever been approached by a woman and they don't flirt with you or hit on you at all, you're not taking care of your business as a man. That's a dead giveaway.
Because your energy, it's how you decide to show up. I mean, regardless of how people want to say it, we are all energy, right? Vibes is a thing. And whatever you believe in spirituality, but quantum mechanics and quantum theory has proven we are this. So if your energy is scarce, if your energy is beta, it will seep out of your cells. So the first thing for a man to actually step into what he wants out of a woman is to love and find his worth within himself. Otherwise, he will not find the woman that he's seeking. And that goes to women as well. Women, if you are afraid and you are scared and you are terrified, the only men that will be pulled into your frame is beta men. Sorry.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they like that, you know, because, oh, she's weak and she's a victim.
Yep.
And that's all they can get. So yeah, we'll draw in.
Yep. Not super crazy rocket science, but people don't want to believe it because it's too painful. Right. You know, I have to look at myself.
Yeah, and it's true though, because historically this was never an issue.
No, and it's social media, unfortunately, again, that's trying to get, and I mean, if you want to start getting into theories and stuff, they say the CIA got involved with feminism back in the 70s, whatever. I'm just like, oh my God, like, I didn't even know that existed. That's a fun one, but
I don't want to delve too deep into those sort of things for my audience, you know. A bit, I run this fitness page and then my funny memes and, you know, but I do like to touch on those topics, you know, and
it works into the psyche, right? It works into the psyche, and anything that's in the psyche is going to, as you well know, affect the somatic, affect the mind. And if your lifters are having, you know, relationship problems and that's up in that's going to mess with their comp performance. I mean, I work with jiu-jitsu athletes myself. The majority is gen pop and behavioral, but I still have jiu-jitsu practitioners. And if they are messed up on a relationship, they're not going to be performing on the mats. They're not going to be able to go and get that medal that they want. And then just everyday individuals, you know, as well as I do, relationship shit will mess you up if you decide to attach to it. So you have to find out who you are and where you are in your sexuality to be able to have a fulfilling life. Let's be totally honest.
Yeah, absolutely true. Well, I mean, that's part of a happy life. You know, I mean, your sex life and love life is part of the human experience, and that's stuff that we need, you know, as human beings in order to be happy. You know, it is tied to that. It's part of the human experience. You know, and that's kind of the funny thing we come to. You know, previous generations, this was never an issue. 50 years ago, 100 years ago, did any of our grandparents have a problem meeting a good match and getting married and any of those things? Oh, they didn't have those problems. Started, you know, our generation, we started seeing more of it, you know. And then this current generation, they're a mess.
It's a shit show. But they also don't know how to create unique connection and actual connection because they're so phones that we're not rewarded like you too, Nadia. Thank you. We're not rewarded for actual human interaction. We get more of a dopamine hit by fucking checking our phone notifications, and then we don't know how to socialize. And that's the other thing is like we don't know how to socialize as human beings. Women are trying to crawl their way to the top because they've always felt disadvantaged and underprivileged, but in the process they lose their sense of femininity, trying to become the strong arm that they never were, and then pushing away the thing that they've always desired. And then men are trying to become more receptive, more passionate, more vulnerable, but then they're put down in the way that they're expressed that, and then they end up losing full trust in who they are as an actual being. And many men aren't even raised with a healthy masculine, which creates chaos in and of itself.
Oh, and that's exactly what we saw with that client I was talking about. He didn't know his father.
Yeah.
He hadn't seen his father since he was 4 years old.
Yeah.
You know, so of course he had no idea how to be a man. He had no idea how to date. He had no idea, you know, what to even do.
Yep.
You know, and he could even get a girlfriend or get a date because, you know, he had no clue how to be a man.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, unfortunately, I mean, more and more that's happening. But as for everyone watching, yes, please feel free to add me, Nadia. If your need in developmental psych, if your needs are not met from the age of 1 to 10, like we're not auto-regulated, we're not taught proper societal structure and developmental psych, your brain will constantly be seeking for that in other ways over the course of your life, for the rest of your life, unless you decide to purposely address that going forward. And we wonder why we have these little weird coping mechanisms and addictions later in life. And it's almost like a little hiccup in our development. And our bodies are amazing things, as you well know. My undergrad, for you guys know, was a lot of my graduate work was in exercise phys and sports nutrition, as well as some psych adjacent. But the body's always wants homeostasis, always want homeostasis. And if it can't create homeostasis, it will seek things external of itself to create that homeostasis. So when we have these little psychological blips, we start to find certain things outside of ourselves that kind of fill in that thing. But the thing is, it only works for so long. It only works for so long. And then it creates more maladaptations or other weird shit starts happening, as you well know, right? Little anger fits, there's coping mechanisms, addictions. I think when we did have our work together, I remember you telling me about this one guy who like showed up like it was like the night before he went out and he like had sex with someone he was supposed to compete the next day. And I was like, oh my God,
That client is watching this video.
Yeah. And he had a cough the next day. And it's like, that's why, guys, like this is valid in every area of your life. Like it will seep into your passions, your work, your societal development, everything. And we are whole organisms, right? If it's like the foot on a table. If your nutrition is out, it's gonna fuck you over in your exercise and your psyche. If your exercise is out in your body, or at the very least you're not moving your body, you're gonna become stagnant. Your brain is not gonna be functioning as well. You're gonna have brain fog. You're gonna have motor control. If your relationships are out, that's gonna impact your psyche, which is gonna impact your sleep, which is gonna impact your training. Like it is all needing to be addressed holistically, yet we think that one thing is going to fix the other when we have to look at the whole organism.
Oh, absolutely. And again, this is stuff we deal with as coaches. I deal with that with the lifters all the time. When they're dealing with life stress of any kind or relationship problems, I literally have to adjust their programming and agenda. You know, and I find that it hits them just as hard as the loss of a family member. Like when they're in a relationship fight or a breakup, I have to adjust their programming as much as I do as if someone's family member just died.
Yep.
Because they don't recover from their training anymore, and they're a mess. So it's required to do those things. And again, as coaches, we deal with this with clients and athletes all the time. Their life stress. Oh, Antonio, yeah, the reason why our grandparents didn't have that issue, well, yeah, because everyone understood the balance of things and their role in it. You know, but again, you get pushback on that. You know, by that same token, you'll get women who will say, "Oh, you can't take my empowerment away." But it's like no one's trying to. And in fact, the women who can express their femininity and balance, who are successful and are making money and all these other things, those are the women who get the men at the very top.
Yes, they do. And that's the funny thing, right? It's that hard middle line that's like, no, I have to hold on to this, and they're still wondering what the fuck is going on, right? That's the funny thing. Women are afraid of stepping into their vulnerability because vulnerability means they're going to get hurt again, right? They're not. The reason that they are afraid they're going to get hurt again is because they've lost trust within their own actions. And it's about repairing, ladies. It is about repairing that trust within yourself, to know that no matter what happens going forward, you will be okay. So that goes to self-healing, right? Where are you not addressing that within yourself? What's keeping you from allowing yourself to have that trust again? Because people can't hurt us unless we allow them to. That's the really funny thing, right? Is we give that power away daily.
Yeah,
and
we give
sovereignty.
people
The what?
cause us to react in the way that we allow them to.
Yep.
But let's come over and let's talk about the healthy masculine side a little more. So, you know, a lot of that has also to do with men developing a code. You know, I say those things like, well, this is what a healthy masculine man should be. They should be a protector, a provider, a mentor. But how do they get to that point? You know, and without proper male role models, they have no idea. And I think a lot of guys, the key to that is something I've always pushed for a long time, is that men need to develop a code. A code of honor.
Agreed.
Is a critical point from, or really the rite of passage from boyhood into manhood. And, you know, and again, that comes down to where men step aside and say, instead of being selfish, because you see this online, you'll see guys, I've seen guys write this, an alpha male does whatever he wants.
That's
I'm like, no,
he doesn't.
your boy does whatever he wants.
Yep. And alpha male also doesn't have to say alpha male, just saying.
Yeah, exactly. But so we'll just say a man, a real man will create a code of honor to control himself.
Yep.
Because all men at the end of the day are savage. I mean, left to our own devices with no code of honor, basically,
100%.
fucking fight.
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest here.
That's basically like, yeah, let's be totally honest. But then it's also that code of honor that a man creates has to be integrous to who he is, right? It's accumulation of his life and how he decides, okay, these are my yeses, these are my nos.
These are my core values.
Yes.
This core identity, and can I build a code around that?
Correct.
What I'm willing to and not willing to compromise. And when he does that, that is when he steps into manhood and healthy masculinity. When he can step back and say that as a man, well, if I have this code of honor, then I have duties and obligations that take priority over my personal immediate whims and needs.
Yes. What are my standards? What am I not going to fall for? Right. And that means, men, that even if she comes back to you whining, you hold your line. Right.
Absolutely.
Or not. I've actually been in situations like this with men before. The masculine men, it's actually a turn on. For a healthy woman, it's a turn on. It's like, oh, no, he honors his standard. He honors his no. And it's not in an abrasive way. That's the other thing. A healthy man doesn't have to say it in an abrasive way. He's just firm. It's like a parent. It's like, no, that is not okay. That is not permissible, but we can look at doing this, this, and this. Where do we go from here? Right? It's a healthy means of communication, as opposed to this men either backtrack and don't stand by their word,
yep,
or they become aggressive and resentful. And that actually has to go with the men. Okay, what have you not, and this is for any man or woman, what have you not addressed within yourself that is creating resentment? Because it has nothing to do with the other person and everything to do with the fact that you allowed a border to be crossed and you didn't address it beforehand.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and see Nadia in the comments right there. I saw that. She said, yeah, a man's word is everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, man's bond. And once you have basically made a promise when you're a real man, when you've made a promise, you're going to go pretty far to fulfill
Yep.
that. You know, some men will take it further than others, you know, but the thing is that you're going to put a real effort into it. There will occasionally be times when you promise something that you can't deliver on, but it's not because you didn't try.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember actually a TV show I gave one of, I think, the best examples of it. And again, I think that differentiates a big difference between men and women. And it's a show called Lonesome Dove. And it's a Western.
I remember that show. Yes, such a good show. Oh my.
At that point, you know, when Gus and everything dies, and Woodrow just says that he's going to take his body, because he gave him his word as his friend that when he died, he would bury him in Lonesome Dove, Texas.
Yep. And went to the
thousands of miles away, and so he has to take him on horseback, and he even gets, I guess that woman Claire even got angry at him, saying, "Why would you do that? Why can't you just bury him up here, where the other people who care about him could be there? Why are you doing this stupid pig-headed thing?" And he's like, "Because I gave him my word. As a man, I would cart him all the way back to Texas on horseback and bury him at that place. I gave my word."
Yep.
And and she didn't understand it, and other people didn't understand it. But I think that
that's integrity.
Would understand it.
And that's the other thing, is just in general, society there's no strength behind that word anymore. And I think men and women as a whole, that is something we need to both definitely address, because that's why trust is a problem, right? That's why our trust is broken, is because we believe we have our own integrity, right? And then as soon as someone else says the same, we're like, okay, it's almost like a contractual agreement, but then they break theirs. So you're like, oh shit, maybe my integrity, maybe I should have done something different. So men and women have to focus on the integrity and what your word means. And you have to understand the weight behind what you decide to commit to as well. If your word is everything, then you need to commit to your word. And then if you know men, if it's not realistic, then don't promise it. It's that simple.
Right. And yeah, that's exactly what it comes down to. Don't promise something you don't think you can follow through.
Yep.
Unless that promise is, I will do my best.
And that's totally fine too. I will do my best for the circumstances that are going on at that given moment. That is a realistic and totally honest answer, and permissible. But if you can't do it, then don't do it, because then you are. And the funny thing is, a lot of the stronger men are like, well, women do X, Y, Z. And it's like, yeah, but it's actually many of the men who compromised their word and broke it that created that issue in the first place. So this is a cyclic in nature. Both men and women have to address on their own sides for us to actually change the culture going forward. It will continue to degrade.
Otherwise, it's a blame game.
They point fingers.
And I see this with men. I will see that when I discuss these things with men. They're like, well, why should I do that when women act the way that they do today? And I'm like, you should, because you're a man. That's why you should do it.
All
it has
to start here.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the fact that women are the way they are today. That doesn't change your obligations.
Correct. It's like, only if they say it, right? Or only if they do their end will I do mine. It's like, no. And that's the other thing. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, show up as you are, because you enjoy showing up as that. Don't do it to get anything. As soon as we do it to get something, we compromise ourselves in the process. It's just like doing a fucking diet, for those of you, right? It's like, I want XYZ outcome, so I'm going to do this to get there, but I don't actually enjoy the process. So when I actually get there, I'm not able to stay there, because the entire journey was a lie. Right. This is relevant for any area of life. Same thing with place.
That comes back to the whole thing of being process-oriented versus outcome-oriented.
Outcome-oriented, exactly. It's exactly what
we're both high-level athletes who have been competitive for decades.
Yeah.
So we understand those things, and a lot of people don't. And that's why they're often not successful at the things they want to be successful in life, whether it's relationships or a sport or business or making money, because they're not obsessed with the process.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like, and that's the other thing, is finding your own individual process. Okay, I want to be a more feminine woman. I want to be a more masculine man. What portion of my habits are more masculine and more feminine? How can I integrate portions that I enjoy more on either end, that I fall in love with daily, that will create this wholer version of a feminine and masculine frame, so I'm actually able to attract the thing that I desire in my life, but not just to attract it, but to be the other end, because I just enjoy that and I love that portion of life.
There you go. And that's the key to everything.
Yep.
It's learning to love the journey itself.
Yep. Awesome. We should do this again. I do have to get lunch before.
We'll have better planning next time, and we won't have the problems. We'll definitely do another one of these, and we'll probably structure it a little bit better next time. For those who do not know who Ariel is, if you put a comment below, people will be able to see it also. and then they can get over to your page. But Ariel is a coach and runs Heart and Soul Wellness. And these days, you basically just help people through trauma mostly, don't you? Are you still coaching athletes much? Very little?
I do if the athletes show up in my inbox, or if they're having like performance anxiety, if they're having, I mean, God, one of my girls was an IBJFF pro, became IBJFF pro #1 in the world. When she first came to me, it was just for 2 weight classes. It ended up being a husband that she needed to lose. So, I mean, it's all layered. It's all, if you're having any sort of behavioral issues, if you're having self-sabotage, if you're having eating issues, any of that, it all stems to up here. So that's what I address.
Yeah, well, we know that the champions are made up here.
Yep. Oh, it's all here. I for those of you who are interested, I did bodybuilding. I was competitive in bodybuilding a decade ago. Figure and bikini. Transitioned from that into obstacle racing. Did the world championships for Spartan racing, and now in the last 3 years, I've been in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world and getting into MMA. So, I realized the other day when I did my last tournament and I won, I was like, holy shit! The only games that I've ever lost are the ones that I have said I wasn't going to win. So it all starts here. I went in with the last one, 4 hours of sleep. I was like, it's going to be interesting off of 4 hours of sleep, dominating this competition. What did I do? Went home with gold. So it's all up here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll definitely do one of these again in the future. And now that you've posted them there, people can find you.
Awesome.
They can see what you're about. And it was great having you on, Ari. We'll do this again.
Always. I look forward. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to it. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.